And a very special guest with us this morning to talk about something I'd never heard of before. It's something that mimics opioids. We'll tell you about that and lots more too, because one of the things he holds is a doctorate in criminal justice, and he is Dr. James Hutchins, and he is from New Path in Flint. Doctor, good morning.
Good morning, Art. Thanks for having me.
Good to see you, Jim. Tell us first of all about New Path.
So New Path is a behavioral health center located in Flint. We serve people in what's called Region 10 and Region 5, which is this region, the Saginaw region, for behavioral health issues, everything from substance use disorder to criminal behavior. We hold a contract with Department of Corrections, and we hold contracts for Medicaid services. So we can help you from anywhere residential substance use disorder all the way through dealing with the courts.
Are these people that come to you on their own because they've bottomed out, or are they referred by the courts?
All of the above.
Oh, okay.
We have a referral system. We have a walk-in system. I have what we call recovery coaches embedded in all 3 hospitals in Genesee County. So if you show up in a hospital emergency room with a substance use crisis, you're going to see one of our staff, and we're going to offer you the option to come change and walk that different path.
Who pays for it?
It's a combination of funding from the state and from the federal government.
Not the person being treated?
No.
Oh, really?
If you can't afford it, we don't need to charge you. There is a sliding scale fee, but we'll work with you.
But there is a sliding scale.
There is. We're not going to make the ability to pay is not a barrier with us.
All right. So one of the things I want to talk about, and I was given this information when I was told you were coming in, is this substance that mimics opioids. What is it, first of all, and is it legal? So
it's never been banned. Kratom is the leaf subject that's been around. Kratom's been around as a tobacco-type product.
So it's a leaf product that grows.
It's a leaf product that grows.
Is that the plant?
That's the plant. And then the active ingredient is colloquially called 7-O. And it is an active ingredient that mimics opiates. It acts on our brain just like a regular opiate.
So if I don't take opiates, but I take this 7-O stuff, am I liable to get addicted to it the same way you get addicted to opioids?
Yes, you are.
Why isn't it illegal?
It's never been. This is something that's emergent, that it's happened. We've had companies synthesize kratom to get specific 7-O out of it that you can now buy in just about any tobacco shop, any gas station that sells tobacco products. You can buy it. You can walk in and buy it. And that is the fear. The dose is so high. We don't know what a lethal dose is, let alone a legal dose, because it's not fit for human consumption yet. It's never been studied. So the FDA has issued a ruling to ask the DEA to classify it, I believe, as a Tier 1, which is the highest level, which shows no medical use. DEA will have to do their investigation and do the study. That will take time. In the meantime, I have individuals in my program right now that are coming through residential substance use treatment specifically for a 7-O addiction.
Wow. So let me ask another question about that. We in this state, through our wisdom or lack of it, passed the marijuana law. And technically, while it's legal in the state of Michigan, it's illegal federally. It's still a restricted drug. Do you think that should be lifted?
It's a double-edged sword. I think it should be regulated, and should be regulated at the federal level.
No, we regulate cigarettes. Is it any different?
And that's the problem. We haven't studied it. A lot of times you don't study something because it's not federally funded. The research is done through federal funding, and marijuana is illegal at the federal level. Kratom should be applied the same way. I'm not talking about kratom because I think there may be some. It's been used by Eastern medicine for years. I think the problem we have is that we've taken something and made it super powerful.
Well, opioids have been used for years.
And that's it. But when it becomes...
But there's a structure. There's a legal structure to get it.
And that's what we have. And we don't have that with 7-O. We don't know the dose. We don't know the lethal dose. We know the lethal dose of fentanyl. We know the lethal dose of heroin. We don't know this, but we're seeing it. We're seeing people show up in the emergency rooms with overdoses just on 7-O.
So is it your expectation that the government will take this seriously?
Yes, they are. They've acted on it. The FDA, for the FDA to take this and make this statement and do it is a huge step. We had the Florida Attorney General. That's what spurred me to action. Florida's Attorney General went ahead after the FDA issued their request and banned it in Florida. 7-0 has been banned in Florida by the Florida Attorney General. The letter that I wrote to our Attorney General Nessel was asking, do the same thing. Why are we waiting when we have people that are showing up in the emergency rooms? The Kratom product was
Did you get a response?
Not yet. So hopefully she'll be able to address it and move on it. Kratom, most of when you look back at the legislature, you look back at the bills that have been introduced, it was targeting Kratom. I think we're missing the boat here. Kratom, it's very hard to overdose on Kratom. The amount of 7-0, yes. The amount of 7-0 in
you
it.
can roll it up, smoke it. And
Yes.
Yeah.
And so, but when we're talking about a concentrated dose, that's where you get into trouble. The thing I like to tell people is if we know what Narcan is, and Narcan is the overdose reversal that works on the brain because it works on the opioid receptors. I'm paraphrasing a bit, but it works on 7-0.
So if you have Narcan and you have a 7-0 overdose, you can still use the Narcan.
Yes.
Which everybody, well, I shouldn't say everybody, but a lot of us carry.
Yes, and everyone should have access
I
to
have
it.
it in my go bag for
Yes.
the sheriff's department, and everybody's got it.
Saginaw Bay City, Flint, we all have Narcan stations around that you can get it for free. We have a booth, a box at our agency. If you walk in the front door of New Pass, there's a box. You can come take a box of Narcan. We try and make sure we put it in everybody's hands. And everybody says, well, I don't have anybody actively using opiates. Well, 7-0, you
may run
may
into
be.
somebody.
I mean, one of the scary things, my son had a Kratom energy drink in our refrigerator and didn't know what it was. His friend had told him it was a safe alternative to a Monster. And it had a very low dose of 7-0, but it was the fact that he didn't know. Somebody told him, it's better than an energy drink. So he'd grabbed one, he hadn't drank it yet. That's the fear, is that my son's grown up with me as his father with very heavy emphasis on substance use disorder. So he kind of knows what he's looking for, and he didn't see it.
I have to ask, though, with all of the publicity over the years for substance abuse, opioid settlements, and all of that, have we made a dent in usage?
We have. We have seen the number of overdoses, deaths have decreased over the last couple of years. I credit Narcan for that people are able to reverse it before they get there. We've seen that. But we also saw the rule change with prescribing of opiates, and that has helped. You now can't be on opiates and get a 6-month supply, can't get a 9-month supply. You can't get this. You have to go in a shorter frame, which means we're holding doctors and prescribers accountable for proper dosing.
Well, so were they prescribing those long runs of opiates simply because they thought it was good medicine? I mean, do we hold the doctors responsible for that, or is that the training they had and it said, well, opiates are what you use?
I think it was a misunderstanding of the drug and the consequences, and now we know. And very rarely do you come across someone that doesn't understand the consequences of opiates. Now with the pain management that's out there, opiates are no longer the first line for pain management. It's actually one of the worst things you want to use for long-term management. So this takes some of the change that's occurred. And the doctors have become educated. This new generation of doctors are coming out. They're getting it. They're getting it. We have, individuals that are championing this because it's not best practice. And so
talking to Dr. Jim Hutchins, and we will have more conversations about that and some other things too coming up after this break on the Art Lewis Show.
Gotta go.
All right, we're back with you in studio with me, Dr. Jim Hutchins from New Pathway Behavioral Center in Flint, talking about a product that literally emulates
It's
opioids. Stop. There we go. It literally mimics opioids, and you can become addicted, yet it's totally unregulated. And Dr. Hutchins is pushing for some regulation to control it and have it at least looked at in the same way that we look at other controlled substances. I want to talk about some other things, and we'll come back to this. Dr. Hutchins' degree is a doctorate of criminal justice, and I am concerned that we are not attracting enough people to enter the criminal justice field in whatever position, whether it's police officer, probation, you name it. All of this since the George Floyd incident and, politicians saying defund police till they found out what happens when you defund the police, and now all of a sudden they're refunding the police. How do we change this? How do we make this an attractive industry again?
We continue to hold people accountable for their actions, and we continue to paint behavior as you're doing the right thing for the right reasons. And we don't tolerate the misbehavior from any side. You hold people accountable. People misbehave. They don't follow directions, some of it out of fear. You have law enforcement that in a lot of cases has painted the wrong picture for us. There have been individuals that we know should not have been working in the correction system or the law enforcement system. But conversely, we have people out there that are doing things that, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? Why are you being adversarial
Right.
when we're just trying to protect you?
I have said, and along the lines of what you just said, there are bad apples in every industry. Those few, and it is few, that make the news because of their misbehavior and excessive use of their badge or whatever reason, in my view, do not represent the thousands and thousands of men and women who put on a uniform every day, risk their lives to go out and genuinely want to serve the public. I am the product of one. My father was a federal agent, special agent Treasury, so I grew up with it. And it really frosts me when these people who never should have had a badge in the first place make it bad for everybody else. And that's what's happened.
It has, and it's created where we are today. And how do we get back from here? We get back from here by taking one step forward together and holding each other accountable for actions.
Yeah, and I think the other thing, there was the old adage about the long blue line and, not squealing on each other and all of that stuff. If you're a police officer in your department and you see somebody in your department that's going to give you a black eye, you better speak up. It's time to break that long blue line.
I agree.
We have each other's backs because we have to in the line of duty, on the street, what have you. But when it comes to reputation, it's a separate issue.
Yeah, I agree. And we have the cases where we have individuals that leave one department and jump to the other because of misbehavior, and they're allowed to keep their certification.
Yeah.
I think that New Orleans has it right. Someone separates from employment as a law enforcement in New Orleans, they are decertified, and then they have to go back through the process.
Got to go recertify again.
So you have a chance to flag a person that, is this the best career path for you?
I do notice, the ones that are held accountable in this state lose their MCOL certification.
Yes.
But you can move you're right, you can move from department to department, and if you were disciplined for a behavioral issue, you could find yourself in another department that'll hire you. And, I think we need to reevaluate some of that.
Yeah. We have to MCOLS has taken some proactive steps, and I think we're on the right path with that. But we've got a long ways to go. And I think we continue to work on this and bring people into the field. It's still, you have to want to serve. You have to want to help and protect. And teaching individuals growing up to do that, where do we start? How young do we start? How do we show individuals that this is a wonderfully rewarding career path?
Well, in this day and age, we're overhead with the negatives. Social media,
Yes.
You name it.
Yes. You're not going to
It's
see
easy to be negative.
Yes. The officer that's out there community policing playing basketball with the kids on the street corner, getting to know who his latchkey kids are and who's in the neighborhood so that he can help them and steer them.
Well,
You don't see that on the news.
That's another thing that worries me. I grew up in New York City. We had beat cops. I knew that cop's name. He knew my name, and he knew my parents. And if I was conducting myself in a manner that I shouldn't have been, wouldn't have taken very long for him to find my dad or my mom and say, hey, Junior here is causing some issues you need to take care of. And it was done that way. It was done internally. But you knew the cop. Budget constraints in many, many communities today have eliminated the street cop or the neighborhood cop or the beat cop because they're all in cars answering calls. And there's not enough officers to answer calls and walk the beats and do all of that stuff. We need to rethink that.
Yes.
I really do, because the neighborhood policing, to me, is the most effective.
Yeah, we've seen it. I'm a product of the birthplace of community policing in Flint. So having seen it growing up, it's a concept that works. You see that person as an extension of a support system. You know your officer's name.
Well, he's part of your neighborhood.
He is. And that's what we're missing right now. Also, as we've had the transient neighborhoods where people switch locations so often, this has become part of society. And so how do we help build that base back?
Well, that's a question I don't think there's an answer for. I really don't. I mean, even though I grew up in New York City, we still had a feeling of a neighborhood.
Yes.
And I was a street kid in New York, grew up that way. It shaped who I am. Wouldn't trade it for anything. But we just don't. I don't know what it is today. I don't know if it's a lack of parenting or what it is. I just don't get the same sense that we're turning out respectful generations for the future. Now, that's a big brush. It doesn't cover everybody. There's a lot of good parents out there. But then a lot of good students and a lot of good youngsters. But it just seems there's more dissension than there ever was.
And the percent has changed of the numbers.
Yeah.
What was 1 is now 2. What was 10 is now 20. And I think that's what we're starting to see. And so we keep working on that and working on those individuals that we can keep moving forward.
Well, you got your doctorate recently in criminal justice. In going through that process, do you sense that the way they teach criminal justice has changed?
It has. It has. Part of this was due to the pandemic. And what we saw happen during the pandemic, that what was in person became virtual. Well, you are trying to teach someone, especially someone going into criminal justice, which tends to be a face-to-face, unless you're going into cyber crimes. You have to deal with people. And if you're going through school and you're not sitting in a classroom, not doing real-world experience in person, sight, smells, sound, how are you going to be effective when you come to be hired?
Yeah, when you stop somebody on the street, you don't text them why you stopped them.
Yes,
you talk to
exactly. That's a great analogy, Art.
them. Yeah. And I'm afraid today youngsters put two kids on a couch, they don't talk to each other. They thumbs do the talking. And, I'm going,
and they'll text each other, sitting right next to each other.
How are they going to deal with business,
yes,
the business world when they grow up, These are interesting questions for which I don't see answers. It just I just think social media, at the same time that it's been good for society for what it provides, it's also been the worst thing for society. But who am I? I'll take a break, and we'll be back talking to Dr. Jim Hutchins, and we're talking about a number of things, from drug abuse to law enforcement, and cover a whole bunch of topics. Hi, we're back with you on the Art Lewis Show. Dr. James Hutchins in studio with us from New Pathways Behavioral in Flint. Talking about a number of things. His degree is a doctorate of criminal justice. And are we attracting the right folks for first responding today?
We're getting there. I think that we're seeing the change to who wants to work in those fields. And we had a pretty bad run there, where people didn't want to go into the field. As we know, police departments, it's a dearth of available officers, new officers coming in the system. A lot of times you have departments cannibalizing each other.
Yeah.
You're jumping from job to job to job. Is that a new hire? Well, not really, because that person left another vacancy.
We joked about it here in Saginaw County because for a long time, Saginaw City Police Department was the only department that was paying for the academy. So they put all these folks through the academy, and within months, boom, here comes another department, offers them more money, cherry picks them, and out they go. Now, most of the departments pay for the academies. They've discovered that that's the best way to do it. And, it's There's a dog-eat-dog world out there for
It
officers
is.
for a
It's
long
everything.
time.
But it's that way. So for substance use disorder therapists that I hire, it's the same thing. There's not a lot of new therapists coming out.
Let me ask a question about that, Jim. How many of the good folks that treat disorders suffered from those disorders at one time or another?
I would say easily 33%.
That's all I would have thought.
It may be higher.
Yeah.
So if you're talking about degreed therapists, someone that's gone through and gotten beyond a bachelor's degree that is a licensed substance use disorder
Yeah, I
therapist.
imagine that would be less because they
Now,
went to school for it.
They went to school for it. Now, I have a recovery coach program that has about 30 recovery coaches that work for me. They all have to have life experience to have the Laura license, to have the state of Michigan license. You have to have a couple of years of sobriety, and you have to have been in the system at some level with struggling with your substance use disorder.
So that was a requirement then?
It's a requirement. You can't be a recovery coach without having been someone and lived life experience. Peer support specialist on the mental health side is similar. So we've done some good things here. And then hopefully that person then takes that, gets a job, and goes on and gets their degree and becomes a therapist. And we have those. So it's a good way to do it.
And I don't know if this has been measured or not. What's the recidivism rate of, say, drug addicts that you recover? How often do they return?
It's a tough thing to quantify because I like to say that it's like starting a lawnmower. Unless you feed it, it's going to stop. And you have someone that's struggling with an addiction at some point, they're going to stop. They're going to start again. And how do you keep them going? How do you maintain, if sobriety is your pathway, what does that look like? So what is true abstinence? Is it desistance from use, where we use the criminal justice term on did you stop, period? And is that what we measure? It's depending on where you look, everybody's got a different metric on how they measure.
It's interesting. We have a program runs on the weekends called Generating Gratitude. Now, the guy that does it, Joe, has been sober for 37 years. And to this day, he still goes to meetings because he says, I'm still a drunk. Even though he hasn't had a drink in 37 years, he's still an alcoholic.
And that's what we try and do. We preach. We have an alumni base. You are welcome back anytime. It's stay with NA, stay with AA, stay with your sponsor. Find a new sponsor. Be a sponsor. One of the best ways to give back is to sponsor someone else and help them get where you are. And that's something that we believe in as an agency, and I think is best practice.
I think it's what he does with the show because he reminds everybody of his situation and others, and he has guests on who are going through it. It's an interesting program. Not many do it.
No.
Not a subject people like to talk about.
No, we don't. And yet we all generally know somebody that's either struggled or is struggling.
Yeah. All right, we're going to take one more break, come back and finish up our conversation with Dr. Jim Lundgren. We're also going to go back to where we started about 7-0, and just want to leave folks with that. We'll do that when we return here on the Art Lewis Show.
Christmas.
We're back with you, talking to Dr. Jim Hutchins from, give me the whole name again, New Path
Behavioral Health Center.
Behavioral Health Center. All right, I got it right. Okay. So we started this conversation this morning telling us about 7-0, which is the addictive element within this plant. Of course, the plant's name, Kratom. And how you'd like to see the federal government added to the scheduled list because you can get hooked on it just like you do opioids.
Yes.
Is it your belief that it's going to happen?
I think so. I think the fact that the FDA took this seriously and has issued the request of the DEA to classify the drug. So that's a process to be done, and it can happen. I would like to see Michigan move faster to help protect our citizens. The fact that you go into the ERs, you're seeing it.
Hurley Michigan could ban it without the government's action.
We could. We could ban 7-0. We could do it. And then that gives us time to kind of reboot here. You've got two classes of people using 7-0 right now. You've got the individuals that have any idea it's an opiate alternative. They're coming in. They're told it's a safe alternative. It's marketed as a safe alternative.
Buy it in the gas station or convenience shop, whatever.
I saw packaging the other day that said 7-0 Smurfs. Well, who's that targeted to? We know who that's targeted to. So you're using that. And then you have the individuals that are struggling with an opioid event, misuse. They've got some level of an addiction, and they're using this instead of. They maybe can't get to their dealer. They can't get to their fentanyl. They can't get to heroin.
But they've discovered this has
They
the
can do
same
this,
effect.
and they can walk into any tobacco shop mostly, and you can do it. Some of the tobacco shops have huge walls of just 7.0, and it's in any shape, form, color, gummy. How do you want to take it? It's there, and it's readily available. So if I'm doing something and I couldn't get, my drug dealer got arrested maybe, and I can't do that, what am I going to use? Well, we need to help that person get into treatment and try the next steps.
Jim, let me ask you this. It's often been said about addiction that you don't seek help until you bottom out. You finally reach the bottom, whatever that is. Is it true?
No, because for me, bottoming out is you're in a casket and people are worrying over you. So, as I like to say, we can fix a lot of things. We can't fix dead. So let's start. And what does your bottom look like? Everybody's different. And for a lot of individuals, it's not a one and done, and it's not a first time type thing. What we like to do at NewPass is say, we're going to get you there. We understand that it might not be today, but we're going to be here tomorrow. And when you're ready tomorrow, we're ready with services. One of the worst things we can have happen for somebody that decides they're ready to start their recovery journey is to not have services available because there's a wait list. That doesn't occur in most counties. You are able to get people into service. But as we look at what's going on at the federal government, we look at it going on with Medicaid funding, it's a very real possibility that we're going to end up a wait list. Just think about right now is if you had to go into treatment like you have to see a knee replacement doctor, how many times do you get that appointment the same day? You're months away scheduling some of these appointments. If we have to take that model with substance use disorder, we're going to have a problem. We're going to have our death rates are going to rise again.
When a client shows up, is there a difference between someone who realizes for themselves they need help and they seek it out versus someone who the court says you will get this treatment?
Yeah. And when you talk about cognitive, you talk about stages of change. You talk about that. Are they pre-contemplative? Are they at least thinking about making a change? Or are they here simply because they don't want to go to jail or prison? And my point is, let me spend some time with you and work you where you need to be to make a decision. We have a lot of individuals that think they can hide from their problems. A lot of people go into treatment. My point is, let's get you into treatment and worry about the rest. Let's start with you're not actively out there in the community causing problems, and we're starting to rebuild what your path looks like. And it's an individual path. Everybody's different. There's no one way to do this. There's no one way to get into recovery.
What's the predominant drug of choice today?
Heroin, still opiates.
Really?
Still opiates. Now, it's different. Like in Genesee County, in Flint specifically, we have very high cocaine usage. Alcohol is huge. Alcohol during, and a lot of people don't know, during the pandemic, alcohol reared its head as an addiction problem because you had that working alcoholic, that person that was coming home at night, having a six-pack, getting up and going to work the next day. All of a sudden, that six-pack became a 12-pack, became a 24-pack because they didn't have to go to work the next day. And so then when it was time to go back to work, now your use has overwhelmed you and you're physically addicted. So that was something. We still see huge numbers of alcohol.
Alcohol, I would have to think, is the predominant drug of this country.
Maybe
I'm wrong, but that's what
it's
because it's legal.
It's legal. Well, and that's it. And as you're studying, you're talking about misuse. What's the classification for misuse? What's social drinking versus, everybody's different. Do you consider 3 beers a night social drinking? Well, some people do. Do they consider 6-pack social drinking? Well, a lot of times that crosses. And it talks about, as we're looking at, do I have to have it? Can I choose to not have it? And that's where the whole point of a disorder comes in and misuse. The reason you're using it, and I can stop anytime I want, but you don't.
Yeah, but you don't. Yeah.
And we hear that. And so how do we help that person? And that's what we try and do in our program, is start you where you are. Wherever you are is where you are today. And how do we start to move to build the plan for you? One of the biggest problems we have with this is the housing component, that so many people are homeless. Very hard to put somebody in an outpatient setting when they're worrying about, are they going to get attacked in their tent tonight?
Yeah. Well, something's going to have to be done.
Yes.
And we only do it as humanity. We have to look after each other. It's not easy, but at least there's organizations like yours out there trying.
Thank you.
That's the big thing. Dr. Jim Hudgens. Doc, thanks for being with us.
Thank you, Art.
Do it again. Love talking to you.
Appreciate it anytime.
And we will take a break, come back, close out, tell you what's ahead on Focus.
We're proud to make